It's like Christmas morning.
The sniper is the most powerful class in Man vs. Machine. And I don't think that's a really controversial thing to say. He can deliver massive damage at any range with little limitation other than his own skill level. He's good against giant robots, regular robots, and tanks too. He even collects his own money. He's an effective counter to many of the most dangerous robots in the game, robots that are too powerful to easily fight at close range. Whereas the spy might counter these robots with subterfuge, the scout with agility, and the medic with mouse 3, the sniper simply avoids getting too close in the first place. The slow, lumbering giants that are most likely to steamroll other classes are little more than easy targets for the sniper. The sniper is definitely a skill-based class. If you can't hit heads, you're not much use. With that being said, MVM Sniper is actually much easier than PvP Sniper. Robots usually move a lot more predictably and often more slowly than human enemies, so don't be fooled into thinking this is some sort of experts-only class that's limited to the very best players. You can learn to play as the sniper. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Your choice of rifle doesn't matter as much as you might think. The stock sniper rifle gets the job done just fine. Hitting targets is what's most important, so if that's what makes you comfortable, there's not much reason to change. The Bazaar Bargain is practically the same thing. It rewards or punishes you with faster or slower charging based on how good you are at hitting headshots, but most of the time you'll be taking quick, uncharged shots, so it barely matters. The Machina and the Shooting Star are side grades from the stock rifle that give a bonus of increased damage and multiple target penetration when fully charged. As far as I know, Robot AI doesn't pay attention to the tracers revealing your location, but the inability to shoot while unscoped does modestly reduce your ability to defend yourself at close range. Since the charged shot bonuses are only relevant in certain situations, many players will prefer the stock instead, and some players will even find the tracers too annoying to deal with. Again, you need to be comfortable, so use whatever gets you headshots. Speaking of headshots, the Sydney Sleeper does not get critical hits for headshots. It does still get headshots though, which will be important later. This item has seen some changes over the years, but these days it mini crits with headshots and briefly applies Jarate to robots that it hits. This means that a sniper with the Sydney Sleeper can't do quite as much damage as a sniper with another rifle, but can provide much more support to his teammates. I don't have a strong opinion on how good the Sleeper is compared to the other rifles. That depends on the situation, including the skill level, classes, and loadouts of your teammates. But it can be pretty good. Perhaps even as good as the Hitman's Heatmaker. Traditionally hailed as the best rifle for MVM, the Heatmaker has the downside of doing less damage if you miss the head or shoot something that doesn't have a head. In exchange, kills and assists with the weapon build focus. When your focus meter is full, you can press R to activate a temporary God mode where you never have to unscope and can make rapid-fire headshots with faster charge rate. This can let you quickly demolish giant robots while you just lazily follow their head with your crosshair. And if you continue to get kills while in focus mode, they'll recharge your focus meter and let you stay scoped in. The Classic is kind of weak. It seems to have been added into the game as a novelty weapon, harkening back to the original Team Fortress, and its inability to get headshots before being fully charged severely limits the amount of work it can do. Skilled players can make do with it though. The Huntsman and its reskin are amazing in medieval mode Man vs. Machine. Yes, that's a thing that exists, but in regular gameplay, it's generally a bit of a downgrade from the rifles, except probably the Classic. It also requires entirely different upgrades and tactics, making the Huntsman Sniper its own special subclass that I don't really have time to cover in this video. If you never miss, your secondary weapon won't matter very much because you'll be too busy clicking heads. But for the rest of us, secondary weapons can help a lot and make the sniper even more powerful on the battlefield. The SMG is kind of redundant because it's just a third option for defending yourself at close range in emergencies. The Cleaner's Carbine, however, can get you 8 seconds of mini crits if you do some damage with it. Remember that for later. Jarate is a popular choice for the sniper in MVM because it makes robots that you douse with it take mini crit damage and can even be upgraded with a slowing effect like the Scout's Mad Milk. It can be a bit redundant to abilities provided by the other members of your team, but a well-timed Jarate throw can be game-changing in the right situation. A good sniper is at his most useful when he's constantly shooting though, so one of the passive options that doesn't require him to switch weapons might be better for him. The Razorbacks and the Darwin's Danger Shield's respective perks of preventing a single backstab and reducing fire damage can be a bit underwhelming, but they're not nothing. My personal favorite is the Cozy Camper, which passively regenerates your health and reduces knockback when you're scoped in. Your melee weapon is mainly a club to keep spy bots away and a last resort if you run out of ammo. The stock Kukri and its reskins are usually the best for that, and the only other melee worth mentioning is the Bushwhacka. The Bushwhacka doesn't get random crits and makes you more vulnerable to damage, but it also gets full crits in situations where other melee weapons would get mini crits. Remember that for later. Explosive Headshot is the sniper's signature upgrade. 1 tick of Explosive Headshot should be the first upgrade you buy for virtually any mission. Explosive Headshot is a special effect that causes all robots within a certain radius around another robot that has been headshot to be zapped for 150 damage. You'll notice that's enough to one-hit more than half of the classes in the game, and it's coded as bleed-type damage. It can't be resisted by things like the Vaccinator or the Fists of Steel. Explosive Headshot also stuns affected robots, slowing them down briefly, with blast radius, speed penalty, and effect duration all increasing with upgrade level. The damage caused by the blast also increases from 150 to 170 to 190, although according to the patch notes, this was supposed to have been removed 2 months after the game mode was released in 2012. So, exploit? In any case, Explosive Headshot turns the sniper from a class that can do a lot of damage to one robot at a time to a juggernaut that can instantaneously level battalion after battalion. Is that a bit overpowered? Sure, but abusing it at least takes skill, unlike more recent additions to the game that are even more overtly unbalanced. And the ability has been that way since before I started playing, so as far as I'm concerned, it's just part of MVM. If you want to challenge yourself, go ahead and play without it as a handicap. Anyway, the most theoretically optimal way to upgrade your sniper rifle's damage is to maximize reload speed immediately after getting the first level of Explosive Headshot. After that, you need to maximize damage as well as get the next 2 levels of Explosive Headshot and projectile penetration as appropriate. The exact order in which you buy these upgrades varies. Explosive Headshot only increases your damage if the increased blast radius causes you to hit more robots, or if you hit robots with certain amounts of health. Most bots other than giants will die from the same number of hits regardless of Explosive Headshot level. Projectile penetration helps you avoid missing headshots because another robot moved in front of your intended target. And it also lets you line up those sweet double and triple headshots. It's most useful when robots are clustered very tightly together. Ammo capacity is also usually important in order to keep shooting in case you don't have a good source of ammo close by, and plus 25 health on kill is nice for keeping you alive if you start taking damage. Faster charge rate isn't that important because most of the time you'll be taking fast shots with no charging. It's much more important to maximize the number of shots you take and the number of hits you make rather than increasing the damage done by each shot. Charge doesn't have any effect at all on the damage done by explosive headshots, which is frequently most of the damage that you do. The sniper is possibly the class that benefits least from resistances. Crit resistance is still useful since it prevents stray crockets or critical bullets from catching him off guard at his perch, but the other resistances are less so. Bullet resistance can protect a bit from enemy sniper bots, and explosive resistance can protect against splash damage, but the need for fire resistance is very rare. A bit of health regen, meanwhile, is a nice medium to low priority upgrade that reduces the need to pay attention to your health bar while sniping. And increased jump height is situationally very useful for getting to high spots where spy bots can't reach you. Increased movement speed is extremely low priority. The only secondary generally worth upgrading is Jarate, primarily for the slowing effect, but that's situational. Melee isn't usually upgraded except for as part of the carbine whacka strategy, which we'll cover later. The first step to playing as the sniper is positioning. The two most important things that you need are a good view of the battlefield and a good source of ammo nearby. This reduces the amount of time you have to spend repositioning yourself and reloading your rifle, respectively. A health pack is nice too, but not necessary if you have the cozy camper or another source of healing. Ideally, you should be far enough back from the robot spawn that most robots won't be able to see or attack you directly. It helps to be on an elevated platform too, since this helps you see over your teammates' heads and lets you peek over the edge while using the terrain as cover if you need to. Finally, you need a good escape route in case you need to retreat. Those are the essentials of a good sniping spot. If you can, try to find a spot that's out of the way of the bomb path, and where you can see most of the map, like the central roof in Coal Town. This allows you to continue fighting without needing to move, even if the bomb gets behind you. On waves with spy support, it's also good if there's a prop or structure that you can stand on so that spy bots can't reach you, but this isn't always feasible. The next step is to find the robots' heads. I'm not joking, it's important to understand robot anatomy and where their hitboxes are located. TF2 hitboxes are made up of rectangular prisms and, minus some glitches and oversights, they generally match the models you see in the game world. As the sniper, you're most worried about the robots' heads, and even though it's the same basic system as PvP Team Fortress 2, you'll run into some unique situations in MVM. Giant robots generally have larger heads than regular-sized robots. This makes them a bit easier to hit, but giants are also usually looking down at your shorter teammates, so the headboxes of hunched-over giant robot classes like Demo, Pyro, and Soldier are often hidden behind their torso if they're not facing you. As you can imagine, this can make it rather difficult to land headshots. These classes also swing their heads a lot when they turn. All else being equal, robot classes that stand upright are easier to hit. If you'd like to learn more about how hitboxes are shaped, I'll try to link some helpful resources in the video description. Unless, of course, I can't find any or I forget. If you have a spy on your team, or you're playing on a gated map like Manhattan, sapped or deactivated robots will slump over. Players obviously don't make this pose in regular TF2, so you might be confused at first about how to headshot in this situation, or if it's even possible. The answer is that the headbox really does slump over with the visual model, so you just need to shoot the head where you see it. Also note that spy bots have different hitboxes than the class they're disguised as. You may never have noticed this in regular TF2 because human spies are less likely to stand still. But, for instance, engineers are short, so a spy bot disguised as an engineer will have its headbox floating in the air above the disguise's head. And speaking of invisible floating heads, did you know that Sentry Busters have heads? Sentry Busters are really just reskinned giant demo men, and they have invisible heads at the top of their visible player model. Sometimes, though not usually, the Sentry Buster is actually the easiest thing on the battlefield to headshot. a piece of knowledge that can occasionally be helpful in wiping out a crowd of other bots crowded around a sentry buster with the explosive headshot upgrade. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Are your game settings configured properly?
You're going to be making a lot of shots in quick succession, so go ahead and enable automatic re-zooming in your advanced options if it isn't already. In PvP, good snipers take a lot of quick shots instead of charged shots because this maximizes their chances of landing a kill, and this becomes doubly important in man versus machine. The explosive headshot upgrade makes it so that most of your damage from a shot isn't actually done by the bullet itself, but by the secondary burst of bleed damage. Since charging has zero effect on it, the way to maximize your explosive headshot damage is to take as many shots as possible. The only times you want to be charging shots are if there's a lull in the action, if you're slowly peeking around a corner, or if you need to do a large burst of damage to a specific target like a giant medic or a fully buffed bomb carrier. This isn't a guide about how to develop god tier aim, but remember to predict movement, use comfortable mouse settings, disable mouse acceleration, all that good stuff. Avoid taking damage that makes you flinch, and extinguish yourself if you get set on fire. Pay attention to how the different types of robots move. Giants lumber in a straight line. Some robots zigzag or jump around. Medics lunge forward and then pause. But the real secret to landing more headshots is to make your life as easy as possible. Always aim at the slowest robot in a crowd, preferably one with lots of health that you can hit multiple times before needing to adjust your aim. Good candidates for this target of choice are giant robots, except giant scouts, heavy robots, especially if their minigun is spun up, robots that are carrying the bomb or have some other slowdown effect applied to them, and robots that are just standing still for some reason, like a scoped-in sniper bot. Generally speaking, the sniper is best against bots that move slowly and predictably, and worst against bots that move fast and erratically. It doesn't matter so much what class they are, but there are a few robot types worth a special mention. The sniper is well known for his ability to headshot a giant robot healed by a squad of uber medics, causing the medics to instantly drop dead in a crackling heap thanks to explosive headshot. This ability isn't foolproof though. Sometimes medics will trail too far behind their patient to be reached by the first level of explosive headshot. Sometimes medics will briefly heal each other by accident instead of their patient, resulting in overheal that exceeds even the 190 damage of the maximum level of explosive headshot. Resistances like the battalion's backup or medics with projectile shields that block their patient's head can complicate things further. There even used to be a bug that prevented you from killing more than 12 robots in a single blast, but that seems to have been fixed. Long story short, it's impossible to 100% guarantee that explosive headshot will wipe out an entire squad of medic bots without triggering at least some of their ubers. Higher upgrade levels can help, Jarate can help, and shooting the medics themselves instead of the giant can help, but situations are possible where all of those combined aren't enough. And it doesn't need to be. One of the benefits of the sniper is that he can shoot robots before they get close. An uber that's popped as early as possible is almost as good as a clean drop. The real danger is an uber that's popped at the last minute. Giant medics are another matter. They're one of the hardest giants to hit after giant scouts. Since the ones with charges will activate them if their health drops below 50, the most reliable way to kill them is to use a charged shot as the finishing blow. They do usually get hit by explosive headshots on their patient, but their patient's health can't actually be decreased until the medic is destroyed or separated due to the virtually infinite heal rate. Spies are probably the most dangerous robots for the sniper. Many classes don't really have to worry about spies as long as they don't stand still, but this is not the case for the sniper. Getting backstabbed suddenly while you're scoped in is a horrible feeling. It helps a lot to pay attention to the administrator's warnings, but that's not entirely foolproof. If you're in a place where spies can reach you and they catch you unawares, there's nothing you can do. If you do manage to turn and confront a spy before it stabs you, 1 or 2 quick hip shots from your rifle or whacks with your melee should do the trick. But if there are more than one, you might find yourself overwhelmed. Try backpedaling away from them as you shoot your rifle or submachine gun so they don't surround and overwhelm you. Jarate can help as well. Sniper bots can be a bit annoying because they tend to have a very long vision range and can take you out rather quickly if you're not paying attention. It helps if your team works together to kill them soon after they spawn rather than letting them run loose across the map. Finally, it's time to talk about tanks. On paper, the sniper's rifles do rather average damage against tanks since tanks don't have heads, and he probably has higher priorities to worry about. However, since rifle damage isn't reduced at long distances, the sniper becomes the best class for killing tanks in situations where his teammates have trouble reaching them. These situations include tanks that are behind enemy lines and also many of the tank varieties found in custom missions, such as those that have sentry guns or other defensive systems mounted on top of them, or the blimp tanks that fly over the battlefield out of the effective range of many weapons. But that's just rifles. The sniper has one more trick up his sleeve when it comes to tank busting: the carbine whacka strategy. Remember how I said the cleaner's carbine could grant mini crits, and the bushwhacker could turn mini crits into full crits? Well, by shooting a short burst with the carbine, activating the crikey meter, and immediately switching to bushwhacker until the meter runs out, you can dish out quite a bit of damage to a tank. Even without upgrades, this strategy will outperform a fully upgraded sniper rifle, which can be quite useful early game. If you have enough money to actually upgrade these weapons, the damage output approaches that of the scout's scatter guns while using less ammo. Be careful though, you have to leave the safety of your perch to use this tactic, and having the bushwhacker active makes you more vulnerable to damage. And I don't actually recommend sacrificing important rifle upgrades for the sake of this niche strategy. Somehow, I've made it all the way through this segment without mentioning a really basic feature of MBM sniper mechanics: money collection. When the sniper destroys any robot with his rifle or his bow, including via explosive headshot, the money that robot would normally drop glows red instead of green. This means the money has already been collected, at least for upgrade station purposes. In other words, the sniper cleans up after himself, and nobody has to run across the map to collect money when he kills something far away. However, a scout could still grab this money as normal to heal himself, so everyone wins. Anyway, that's about all the tactical advice I've got. Playing the sniper is pretty straightforward. Click heads. Back when MVM was new, Ubermedic bots were seen as a major threat that needed to be dealt with swiftly and cleanly before the giant robot they were pocketing steamrolled your entire front line of W plus M1 heavies. The community considered it important to have a class whose job it was to one-hit kill all Ubermedics. Traditionally, the Demo Man filled this role, but the sniper was seen as a niche alternative for high-level players. Fair enough, the sniper can fill this role just as well as the Demo Man. But nowadays, the meta has changed. Teams have fewer heavies. The Demo Man has been nerfed. Other classes have been buffed. The Pyro has been given a lunchbox item that by itself can play the game better than most actual humans, and the difficulty of MVM has just generally been watered down. It doesn't really seem to me that this expectation is that common in the community anymore. Nobody cares about Ubermedics as much. I think the main expectation that other players do have of the sniper is that you win. As long as everything goes smoothly, nobody cares what class you play. But as soon as you lose a wave, fingers immediately get pointed at the non-meta class. It doesn't matter if you're the team MVP, you're the one doing something different. The problem couldn't possibly be that 3 players have decided to devote themselves entirely to buffing the heavy instead of killing robots. It couldn't possibly be that the heavy is barely killing more robots than the sniper in spite of half the team catering to his every need. And I'm sure it doesn't have anything to do with the players who are farming easy kills off of support bots instead of fighting the actual threats. No, obviously it's all the sniper's fault. It's okay though. As we've discussed, the sniper is kind of OP, so why would you ever lose? So I'm going to flip this segment on its head for a bit and talk about an expectation for other classes when there's a sniper on the team. There are a lot of weapons and mechanics in the game that allow you to push, juggle, or otherwise knock back the enemy robots. Air Blast, the Loose Cannon, the Force of Nature, the Scorch Shot, Minigun Rage. Many players like to use these for stall tactics in order to give their team more time to wear down the enemy through attrition. I think the effectiveness of these tactics is debatable, but from the perspective of the sniper, they're infuriating. Do these people really think that stalling the bots by half a second is worth this huge decrease in the DPS of their team? Not just the sniper. What's worse, this is often done instead of killing robots themselves, rather than as a side effect of it. If you find yourself resorting to these stall tactics, you should look at what classes your teammates are playing and seriously consider if you're actually being helpful. This has been Underscore Gaming's Man vs. Machine tutorial series, The Sniper, with Mr. Underscore. I do mess up sometimes, so don't forget to check the video description for ERRATA. Good luck and have fun clicking heads. Cheers!